For more now on the Manchester terror attack, we turn to CBS News security analyst Frank Cilluffo. Frank, to talk about this, we've been discussing it all morning long about the security and how you can secure a venue like this. But police in the U.S. are on heightened alert today. What exactly will they be doing and what will they be looking for?
You know, I mean, firstly, they want to rule out the potential that this is part of a broader plot. And as unlikely as that may be, they want to make sure that they've covered all the bases there. But more importantly, it's been said that terrorists are imitators, not innovators. So they're going to be very concerned about potential copycats, those that are watching this horrific atrocity and maybe coming up with some of their ideas to move quickly on potential attacks. So that's the primary concern. In terms of what they're actually doing, there's a lot you can do to surge capability. And in big cities like New York, Washington, D.C., L.A., Chicago, they actually can move pretty seamlessly where they can harden specific targets, they can shake the bushes of known networks in terms of trying to flush out any additional information. It's other areas outside of the big cities that probably are going to have a little bumpier ability to ramp up security.
Frank, the U.S. issued a travel alert for Europe earlier this month, but if this individual, the suspect, turns out to have been British-born, in other words, a homegrown terrorist, I mean, do these travel warnings, I know they have to put them out, but do they have any effect on what we're dealing with here?
You know, I mean, Vlad, as we've discussed in the past, clearly the homegrown jihadist threat throughout Europe and including the United States is a big challenge, big concern. I think what you're seeing right now is you've got directed attacks by ISIS and other Islamist terrorist organizations and other organizations. You've got those that are inspired, and increasingly you're starting to see the hybrid, those that may in fact have some training and but aren't necessarily directed. So the travel warnings themselves, and in this case it was a travel alert earlier this month, that's based on general trend data. The Europeans themselves have mentioned that they're at the highest level of alert. So I think we're basing that on that particular information, which is different than hard intelligence on an imminent kind of threat or attack.
Well, ISIS has stated that it was one of its fighters who carried out this attack. What do you make of that claim? Do we take that seriously? Is ISIS likely to make false claims because this is such a high-profile attack?
You know, at the end of the day, it's the atrocity itself, right? Whether they're directed or whether they're inspired, it's the impact and the consequence. How you tackle that, though, is a little different. I mean, we do need to take Al-Qaeda's, ISIS's territory away in terms of Syria and Iraq. So, I mean, that is rule number one. That may actually lead to an elevated threat in the short term. That said, even if you have military success on the battlefield, that obviously in itself is not sufficient to address this threat. There's a law enforcement component, there's a community component, civil service component, and we've got to bring all these pieces together to move in one direction.
Indeed.
All right, Frank Cilluffo, always great to get your analysis, even on such a terrible story. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, guys.